And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Sunday, April 6th. I am Josh Engleman, and I am here to break down an 8-game Sunday slate. We got a couple earlier games. I will not be touching on those, but we do have a ton of basketball later today, locking at 6. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. What's up, everybody? Hope you guys had some fun yesterday. Hope you guys had that Giannis game. Hope you had that KPJ game as well. I don't know anything about yesterday's games. I am not around for Saturdays, but we are here to talk basketball today. Lots of games, lots of potential bets to break down. We got that waiting for us. I guess I should get logged in. I'm running sims so we can figure out exposures. It's going to be good. Steven, what's good? Matthew, what's up? Good to have everybody here today. We're going to move pretty quick. I'm not going to go too crazy on this one, but we'll have some fun. All right, lineups are finishing up. Let's just dive into it. First game of the day. Ooh, lineups are just done. So I guess I'll pause temporarily and load those bad boys. All righty. Lineups are in. Delete that. Let's find out what we have. Because there's a lot of ownership coming into this Utah side, and we're going to need to talk about that. All right, lineups are finished. Lineups are pasted, so you guys can now see my exposures on DraftKings. Utah Jazz, 12-point underdogs in Atlanta, 244 total. Jazz injury status, no Jordan Clarkson, no John Collins, no Walker Kessler, no Lauri Markkanen, no Cody Williams. KJ Martin is questionable. The guy that we're paying closest attention to here today for the Utah Jazz is going to be Johnny Juzang. Shooting guard, small forward, eligible, expected to start. We got him in for 29 minutes, 4K, 5.9x value. We got him 25% optimal, 35% owned. He's in 23% of my lineups. He ranks 6th. We have a couple other options, though, all around 10% for Utah. Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski, Keontae George. And for the most part, those guys all look the same. You get Keontae George off the bench, but he plays real minutes. 6,500, 15% optimal, 11% owned, ranks 17th. Filipowski starting at the 5, 7,300, 13% optimal, 8% owned, in 15% of my lineups, ranks 20th. So 2 more guys in the top 20. Bryce Sensabaugh ranking 25th. He's 10% owned. Even Collier and Sexton are getting a little bit of love here for Atlanta. I wouldn't say they're the best plays in the world. I would be ranking these guys pretty easily. Juzang, George, Filipowski, Sensabaugh. But the Utah side looks really good. I mean, these guys are shorthanded, playing big minutes. Good matchup against Atlanta. Ownership's coming in on the FanDuel side as well. 40% to Juzang. Same 4K price tag. Ranks 4th. Keontae George is actually slightly higher ranked on FanDuel. He ranks 9th. So 2 guys in the top 10. Filipowski in at 15. Sensabaugh 10% owned, Collier 10% owned. There's a lot going on here for Utah and Atlanta. I mean, this is the most owned game on the slate. So think about it like that. 22% of the ownership today is coming into Utah and Atlanta. Utah right now is the 4th most owned team on the slate. So we're getting to a bunch of it here. But it's tough to think it's anybody other than Juzang as your best option. The price and position are just too good. Let's see if we have any Utah bets. We do. Kyle Filipowski, under 10.5 rebounds, 5 OddsShopper rating at BetMGM. We got a lot of bets today, actually. Only one Utah. It's that Filipowski, but I think we're going to have a lot to talk about sports betting wise. But yeah, Utah looks great. And The troublesome part is Atlanta looks even better. Higher optimal, higher boom, more owned, because they get to face Utah. And assuming you guys have been paying attention to the NBA season, facing Utah, pretty good thing. We're getting 35% ownership to Trae Young. He's 10,200. And he still ranks 10th. And Okongwu still ranks 13th. He's up to 8,600 now. Karis LeVert is 15th. He's 20% of my lineups. He's over 10% owned. So you're getting Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, and Karis LeVert all in that 10 to 15% range. Same for optimals. You're getting Trae Young over 30% owned. Now, I will add a caveat here, I guess. I'm not getting to that much Trae Young. Clearly, I like him. Like, you know, matchup, projection, all of it looks good. But feels a tad over-owned. Could be wrong. Don't think I am. But I find it more interesting to pay up for Giannis, to pay up for Jokic. So it's not that I don't like Trae Young. 20% optimal, 30% chance of 61 fantasy points. He looks good in this spot against Utah. 244 total. This is the highest total on today's slate. 36% ownership does feel a hair high for Trae here. He's 40 on FanDuel, as is Dyson Daniels. Trae Young is 7th on FanDuel. Dyson Daniels is 3rd. Neither one of those guys is number 1. That would be $7,900 Onyeka Okongwu, who's 50% owned. So we have 3 guys on the Hawks on FanDuel, 40% owned or higher in Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, and Onyeka Okongwu. I mean, they're priorities. You're probably playing all 3 of those guys in a cash game on FanDuel today. It's just where we're going to be. Atlanta bets. We got Risa Shea, 3 OddsShopper rating, under 1.5 threes made, plus 135 on BetMGM. That is the only Hawks bet that I see out here right now. Yeah, only one. Only one. But yeah, for Atlanta, Trae is your most owned guy. I'm not super excited about it at that ownership, but certainly a top 10 dude. But Daniels, Okongwu, LeVert. Okongwu being up to 8,600, man, that is a big old price tag. Big price tag. Steven, no, he's not. You don't need to go to Terrence Mann on a day like today. Well, we'll go to Washington next. The Washington Wizards are 20.5-point underdogs in Boston today. 3 touchdown dogs for the Skins taking on the Patriots here. This is bad. This is really bad. By the way, Atlanta is on a back-to-back. I forgot to mention that, you know, their injury report could change, so that could be a little different. But yeah, the Wizards. Obviously no Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Corey Kispert, Chris Middleton. Tristan Vukcevic and Rashawn Holmes are both questionable. The only guy that got a double-digit optimal or double-digit ownership is Bub Carrington. 11% optimal, 10% owned, ranks 29th. He's in 9% of my lineups. The only guy that I got in more than 1% of lineups is Bub Carrington and Tristan Vukcevic. Obviously, this matchup is dreadful. Obviously, these guys aren't very good at basketball. FanDuel, same scenario. Bub Carrington, 10% owned, 10% optimal. Not much else is going to be looking good here for the Wizards. They're ridiculously massive underdogs. They have the lowest implied total on today's slate at 98 points. For reference, Boston's is 119. They're 3 points below the next lowest team. I can't imagine prioritizing anything from the Washington Wizards today. Get a little bit of Bub Carrington if you need to, but don't get too much. Matthew, there's no Q tag on anybody for the Bucks. They're on a back-to-back. There is no injury report for Milwaukee. That's the Wizards. In terms of Wizards bets, we have under 15.5 points, plus 121, 4% EV on NoVig for Jordan Poole. And that's it. So just Jordan Poole points is our Washington representative. Travis, why would Poole not play? No reason to suspect Jordan Poole isn't playing. And then we go to Boston. Now, if you think the Wizards didn't look very good, I'll show you Boston because this is the lowest owned game today. And Boston is the lowest owned team today. 2% to Tatum, 1% to Porzingis, 1% to Derek White, Q tag on Jaylen Brown, Q tag on Jason Tatum. Maybe if those two guys are out, we find something that we like for Boston. But as it currently stands, there's no chance you're going to the Boston Celtics. I got one share of Porzingis. No one's more than 2% optimal. No one even ranks in the top 60. I'll be nowhere near Boston unless Tatum and Brown are both out. For the most part, it's the same story on FanDuel, but like Derek White's $800 cheaper, looks a little bit better. Porzingis is $500 cheaper, has the MPE, looks a little bit better. Tatum's cheaper. Drew Holiday is cheaper. Jaylen Brown's cheap. They're all cheaper across the board on FanDuel. But they're still not that great. A little bit of Porzingis, a little bit of Derek White. Maybe they look better with no Brown and or Tatum. But you're not playing a ton of Boston here. Yeah, is the matchup awesome? Sure. You're not getting a 36-minute game out of Jason Tatum today. It's just not happening. They have no incentive to do it. They're pretty well locked into what they're doing in the play. Like, there's just... How do you want to go to Boston? Now, if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both end up out, then yeah, Derek White, Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, these guys are going to look a little bit better. But they're the least owned team on the slate right now for a reason. Do we have Boston bets? We do. We've got Porzingis, under 6.5 rebounds, 5% EV on NoVig. We've got Jaylen Brown, under 20.5 points on Fanatics, 3.7% EV. We've got Derek White, under 5.5 assists, 3.3% EV on BetMGM. Tatum under rebounds, White under rebounds, White under threes. There are a ton of Boston bets available on OddsShopper right now. If you were looking to get some bets down today, Boston is certainly a team you could take a peek at. Now, I would try to be a little judicious with some of those, given the 2 Q tags, but yeah. Yeah. Quite a bit of options here. Best one, though, Porzingis under 6.5 boards at NoVig. Then we go to game 3. Sacramento Kings, also unowned. They are 9% in total. That is slightly less than Washington, slightly more than Boston, but Kings are 10-point dogs in Cleveland, 236 total. This is the second most owned game. Both Washington and Boston and Sacramento and Cleveland, 3% owned. The most owned guy for the Kings is Domantas Sabonis at 3%. The most optimal guy for the Kings is Zach LaVine at 4%. So that's it. Now, we do need to at least go with the news that Keegan Murray is questionable. We could possibly get some value there. Still no Jake LaRavia. But I didn't get more than 2% of anybody. That was Zach LaVine. FanDuel different. LaVine, $500 cheaper, so he's 10% optimal. DeMar DeRozan, $600 cheaper, so he's 10% optimal. Sabonis looks better. Malik Monk looks better on FanDuel, although I don't know how much you're going to get of him. Now, only Levine made the top 30, and he just snuck in on FanDuel at 30. But bad matchup against Cleveland. Not exactly a ton of value. The DraftKings side of the Sacramento Kings is uninteresting. Bet-wise, very different. DeMar DeRozan under 4.5 assists at BetMGM with a 5% EV. Is that it? It is. That's the only Sacramento bet. It's a good one, though. It's a good one right here. But what is there to get from Sacramento today? Now, if Keegan Murray ends up out, maybe we get Trey Lyles starting, or maybe they move Monk back in. It's up in the air, but you're just not going to have a lot of the Kings. And you're also not going to have a lot of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're 15% owned. So Wizards were 19, Boston was 4, Sacramento 9, Cleveland 15. They're essentially unowned. 4% to Darius Garland, most of anybody on DraftKings. 6% optimal to Darius Garland, the most of anybody on DraftKings. I got 3% of Garland, 3% of Strus. No one for the Cleveland Cavaliers is in the top 30. Maybe you get a couple shares of DeAndre Hunter. Maybe you want a little bit of Garland or Mitchell or Mobley, which is fine. But you're not going to Cleveland for a lot of exposure. But it's unappealing. Do you want to go there on FanDuel where Darius Garland's only $7,500? He's $600 cheaper. It's 14% optimal, 10% owned. Yeah, makes the top 20. Nobody else does. 7% optimal is the most of anybody else on FanDuel. 5% owned is the most of anybody else on FanDuel. You're just not playing a lot of Cleveland Cavaliers today. There's nothing here. Minimal optimal, minimal ownership. Now, Ty Jerome is questionable. He's been out for a bit. Dean Wade is questionable. He's missed at least 1 or 2 in a row. So we might move the bench minutes around for the Cavs, but the Cavs have absolutely nothing to play for. But this game essentially couldn't be more meaningless. So they'll just keep the gears greased up and, play their 30 minutes and move on. Wizards game, Boston, Sacramento, Cleveland. It's not a thing today. Cleveland bets. We have Evan Mobley, under 32.5 PRA. 3.6% EV on FanDuel. I don't get a ton of FanDuel bets all that frequently. That is your only Cleveland Cavaliers bet right now on OddsShopper. Yeah, Steven, that's a farce. I'm so over the awards. I don't agree with anything. Let's go to game 4. San Antonio Spurs. 4-point underdogs in Portland. 228 total. Spurs have been an interesting team as of late. So we have no Jeremy Sohan, but no other injury news. 15% ownership to Chris Paul. 15% optimal. Ranks 21st. I've liked him for like 3 weeks now. 15% optimal for Stephon Castle. 15% optimal, 7,400. Looks solid. Those guys are completely reasonable 10 to 15 percenters. Lee says Castle assist rates have been going up nicely. I wonder why that's happening. It's like their point guard's gone. Well, one of their point guards. Yeah. Pretty good scene for Stephon Castle to not have De'Aaron Fox around any longer. It's not just those guys, though. Like, Vassell's 6% optimal. Biyombo, Keldon Johnson, Julian Champagnie are all like 10% optimal, 10% owned. This is a team that you get scattered of. I have 10% of Chris Paul, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Bismack Biyombo, Keldon Johnson, and Julian Champagnie. I have 10% of 6 different guys on San Antonio. So I don't have one guy where I'm like, oh, that's the dude you want to get to in this spot. I just kind of am going to have most of the Spurs a little bit. Like, you know, every other lineup has a Spur is sort of where we're at right here. Do you guys like anything from San Antonio today, like specifically? We do have a under 33.5 PRA on Stephon Castle at BetMGM right now. We also have under 5.5 assists on Stephon Castle at Fanatics. Over 6.5 rebounds for Biyombo on NoVig. Under 7.5 rebounds for Biyombo on BetMGM. Vassell over threes on DraftKings. I just kind of assumed. That's a lot of San Antonio Spurs bets up on OddsShopper right now. But yeah, I like Chris Paul. I like Stephon Castle. I like a little bit of Devin Vassell. I think a little bit of Biyombo's fine. Keldon Johnson, Champagnie. What do I think of the Fox trade? I wouldn't have wanted to trade for De'Aaron Fox because I think he's wildly overrated and I would have wanted to make a different move, but they really didn't give up anything of value. So I don't hate it, but I don't like De'Aaron Fox. I think he's not very good at what they need him to be good at. For Portland, surprise, surprise, we're getting Portland ownership like we normally do. Denny Avdia is questionable. Tumani Kamara is questionable. Dwop Reith is questionable. Anthony Simons is questionable. Scoot's still out. Grant is doubtful. I'm not even going to bother here. How is he overrated? In what sense? I think people think he's better than he is. I don't think he's as good as his perception. So he's overrated. I'm not even going to dig into Portland here. I'm just not. Like if Simons is in, he's going to look good, but we don't know. Is Donovan Clingan decent today at 15 to 20% ownership? Sure. He won't matter at all. He's a fast player that can play make. Okay. What's that supposed to mean? Is fast supposed to matter? It doesn't to me. Does it help if you're the 20th best playmaker? Because I don't think it does. Fast and quick are both bad words. Who cares? You're just describing the way he plays. He's an inefficient shooter. Essentially can't ever make a three. Nothing there for me. He had a bad year. Back-to-back years, 40% true shooting. 3 out of the last 4. Only reason the other one didn't is because he had a disproportionate year shooting at the rim. He doesn't get there very well anymore. Defense isn't great. I don't love it. Don't love it. But look, Portland, if Denny's in, he's okay. If he's not, someone else is better. If him and Simons are both out, then we're probably playing $5,400 Delano Banton. But it's pretty hard to break down a game like this one, given the amount of injury news. Half of their minutes are questionable. Half of their fantasy points are questionable. I don't have anything else to add for Portland here. We have no idea what they're going to look like. Shit, I'd argue Fox makes it weird for Chris Paul. I mean, I think there's a real argument to make that Chris Paul had a better 2025 season than De'Aaron Fox did. But whatever. Let's put Portland to bed. I'm not even going to look at their bets because none of the, like, you're not going to want to bet on them. Phoenix. Suns, 8.5-point dogs in New York, 227 total. We are getting a little bit of ownership into this Phoenix team, and it is coming to one man and one man only. Now, Kevin Durant is out. Otherwise, everything's fine. Royce O'Neal, 30 minutes, 4,200, small forward, power forward eligible, 40% optimal, 40% owned, 40% of my lineups. He ranks second today. Unequivocal cash game play. One of your top ranked plays of the day. It's all things Royce O'Neal. Now, no one else for Phoenix has a 10 odd shop or 10 optimal score. No one else has 10% ownership. I did get a little bit more Iguodaro, but no one else in the top 30. It is jam Royce O'Neal. Probably don't play too much of the rest of Phoenix. God's honest truth, you seem like a really fun person to have around. You can go ahead and close the stream if you want. You're useless to me. But like, Oso Iguodaro looks okay. Bradley Beal looks okay. You know, Iguodaro ranks 30th or 34th. Beal ranks 47th. They're 5%ers. It's fine. But Royce O'Neal, 6.3x value. That's probably the number one value play of the day. Number two. We'll get to number one in a bit. But it's all things Royce O'Neal today. Do we have any Phoenix bets? We have Ryan Dunn under 7.5 points. And we do have Royce O'Neal under 11.5 points on BetMGM. Congratulations, brother. I'm just going to say goodbye now. I don't really give a fuck to deal with you ever again. Adios. Don't let the door hit you. FanDuel side for Phoenix, same story. Royce O'Neal, heavy ownership. 4,800, small forward, power forward eligible. 30% optimal, 30% owned, ranked 6th. Nobody else in the top 30, although 10% ownership to Booker, 10% ownership to Beal, 10%-ish optimal for Booker and Beal. So they look a little bit better on FanDuel. But Royce O'Neal is also a much better play on DraftKings. Now for the Knicks, they've been an interesting team as of late on a back-to-back. So we don't technically know who's going to be available here for New York. But we are expecting one person to be playing today. And that's going to be Jalen Brunson. Clinton, yes. Yes, guys have salaries. Very important thing for DFS. Jalen Brunson's back. 9,200. You're not playing him. You're getting a little bit of Mikal Bridges. 5,900. Shooting guard, small forward eligible. Revenge narrative for you people. 10% optimal, 15% owned. Josh Hart is 10% optimal, 10% owned. Both Bridges and Hart rank 27th and 28th. You know, not much coming into Towns or Anunoby. It's kind of just Bridges and Hart. Now, maybe this looks a little different. We have no idea what their injury report's going to look like today. So we'll have to check that out. FanDuel's the same situation. Nobody's really all that interesting. They definitely look worse. 5% optimal is the most of anybody for the Knicks. 5% ownership is the most for anybody from the Knicks. But yeah, a little bit of Bridges, a little bit of Hart. Nothing crazy. Just scattered ownership to two guys that play 36 minutes a night. That's all. Maybe it looks different. Maybe we get some different injury news for the Knicks when they drop their injury report. We don't know. But right now, I'm not expecting it. Indiana Pacers. Oh, actually, Knicks bets. Oh, we got them too. Brunson under 1.5 threes. 10 OddsShopper rating, 5.7% EV. Towns over 36.5 PRA on BetMGM, 4% EV. Josh Hart under 12.5 points on ProfitX, 3.5% EV. Bridges under 14.5 points. Tons of Knicks bets. Today's a good day to be on OddsShopper, folks. Link in the chat or in the description. 7-day free trial whenever you want it. Pacers Nuggies. Pacers are 6-point dogs in Denver. 239 total. Ben Shepherd is doubtful. Pascal Siakam is out. Otherwise, we've got everybody normal. And we're getting a bit of ownership to the Pacers. 15%, 10 to 15 on TJ McConnell, Jarris Walker, Miles Turner, and Aaron Nesmith. 25 to the most owned guy here, Obi Toppin, 4,300 fantasy point per minute, 15% optimal, 25% owned. Looks great. But they've got 4 guys in the 16 to 24 range. Obi Toppin ranks 16th. Jarris Walker ranks 22nd. Aaron Nesmith ranks 24th. Miles Turner ranks 26th. And I have 5% of Halliburton, Nembhard, Mathurin. Everybody's on the table for the Pacers today. 5 guys at 10% optimal. Halliburton and Nembhard both north of 5. They've got 8 guys in the top 44. I would say, I mean, Toppin is your best option. I think Nesmith is probably second. Turner third, Walker fourth, and then you're starting to scatter to the rest of these guys. But TJ McConnell for 4K looks solid. Mathurin's got the good MPE. Slightly different story on FanDuel, depending on where the value is. Like, Halliburton looks better on FanDuel. Nembhard looks better on FanDuel. Nesmith looks worse. Toppin looks worse. Turner looks worse. Walker looks worse. So it's kind of like the inverse on FanDuel compared to DraftKings. We like the Pacers more on DraftKings, but like their extra guys. And then Halliburton is more in play on the FanDuel end. Halliburton under 10.5 assists at NoVig. Has a 7 OddsShopper rating. Nembhard under 4.5 assists at ProfitX. 4 OddsShopper rating. And that's it. 2 assist props on NoVig and ProfitX for these Pacers guys. Nuggets. Jamal Murray questionable. Clearly that's going to matter. But we've talked about a lot of value options so far today, and that's why we're getting to the number one play of the day. 12,700. 45% optimal. 45% boom. 45% owned. 45% of my lineups. You're paying up for Nikola Jokic today, whether Jamal Murray plays or not. Ranks number one. Just the dude. The dude. No one else is being rostered from Denver if Jamal Murray is in. The next highest ranked guy is Aaron Gordon at 74th. It's not happening. But Jokic, cash game lock priority number one play. FanDuel, 12-7. 20% optimal, 20% owned, ranks 8th. Looks great. Not as great. But it's Jokic and nothing. Or if Jamal Murray is out, it's probably still mostly nothing. Russell Westbrook's 8,500. That's going to be pretty tough to do. So just play Jokic. I don't think anybody's going to be mad to hear that. Denver bets, nothing. Not a single representative here on OddsShopper. So we've got 2 games left to go. If you haven't done it yet, hit that like button. Schedule for the rest of the day. We have MLB Live Before Lock at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Greg and Eric. Greg and Eric will also be on playback at 1:30 watching some baseball games, talking about DFS and bets. And then Emac and Bellman will have NBA Live before lock tonight at 5 p.m. This is another one of the lowest owned games. Houston and Golden State, 4% in the aggregate. Rockets are 4.5-point underdogs taking on the Warriors. Jabari Smith is questionable. The only guy getting any sort of love on DraftKings is Alperen Şengün. 8% optimal, 9% owned, 13% of my lineups, ranks 35th. Otherwise, everybody from Houston is outside the top 60, and I didn't get more than one share of anybody. They look a little bit better on FanDuel. Van Vliet's a little bit cheaper. Dylan Brooks is a little bit cheaper. Alperen Şengün is a little bit cheaper. Those three guys are like 10%ers on FanDuel. But on the DraftKings side, it's kind of just a little bit of Şengün and nothing else. We can take under 13.5 points on Fred Van Vliet. 5.7% EV. Our fifth best play on OddsShopper right now on DraftKings is a Fred Van Vliet points prop. For the rest of Houston, Jabari Smith under 6.5 rebounds on FanDuel. I'd take that. He's questionable right now. Worst case scenario, he just doesn't play. So I would want to grab that one too. Two solid Houston options. But again, outside of Şengün, we're just not getting that much ownership here. And on Golden State, it's even less. Now, they might look a little different. We do not have their injury report right now. But 4% optimal to either Draymond or Podziemski is the most optimal for the Warriors. Terrible matchup against Houston. 3% ownership is the most we have here. On FanDuel, Draymond is $300 cheaper. He did get over 10% optimal and 10% owned. He ranks 23rd. But no one else for the Warriors is inside the top 40. I don't want Steph. I don't want Podziemski. I don't want Moody. I don't want Butler. You know, just scattered shares of these guys. Because we're not going to Golden State. We're betting on it if we can. We're grabbing a under 22.5 PRA on Draymond Green. But it's hard to talk about Golden State and Houston when we have to talk about Milwaukee and New Orleans. So for Milwaukee, we don't know their injury status. They're on a back-to-back. We'll see. You're clearly playing Giannis. I mean, he's dropping triple doubles and diming people up now with Dame out. 12-6, power forward center eligible, 30% optimal, 20% owned, 48% of my lineups. Giannis ranks 5th. I like Jokic a little bit more, but I would be trying to get to both of them if I could. KPJ played massive minutes yesterday. We only have him in for 21.5 today. That's still enough for him to rank 7th. 20% owned, 25% optimal. We've got two top 10 plays from Milwaukee here against the Pels. Bucks are 9-point favorites, 220 total. You're rostering no one else from Milwaukee other than Giannis and KPJ. No one else has a optimal rate north of 2%. Giannis is 30, KPJ is 25, Taurean Prince is 2. So it's just these two guys. And it's basically the same story on FanDuel. 12-5 Giannis, ranks 5th, 30% optimal, 20% owned. KPJ, MPE, 15% optimal, 10% owned. Those guys are in the top 20. The next closest guy is Taurean Prince at 57. So it's just Giannis and KPJ. Just Giannis and KPJ. And then finally, New Orleans Pelicans. This is the team we got to pay attention to. As of right now, this is your most owned team on today's slate. No one's owned more. Jose Alvarado is questionable. That's going to be pretty important considering he's in the top 10, basically. We have 4 guys in the top 10. Jamal Cain, flat 3K, small forward eligible, 35% owned, 40% optimal. Because there's no Zion, no Olynyk, no Murray, no Murphy, no McCollum, no Jones, no Hawkins, no Boston, potentially no Alvarado. 30% ownership to Carlo Makovich, ranks 8th. 30% ownership to Jamal Cain, ranks 3rd. 13 to Yves Missi, ranks 9th. 25 to Jeremiah Robinson Earl, ranks 4th. 3rd, 4th, 8th, 9th. Alvarado at 12. Antonio Reeves at 18. This is the best team of the day. You're rostering massive amounts of the Pelicans. Bruce Brown does not look that good. Keon Brooks does not look that good. Elfrid Payton's worth 5%. Lester Quinones, not worth a roster. But I have 50% of Jamal Cain. That's going to help me get to more Giannis and Jokic. I've got Carlo Makovich. I got 30% of Missi. I got 35% of Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Massive amounts here of the New Orleans Pelicans. I have 177% of the Pels. I don't have another team over 100. Mostly the same story on FanDuel, just a little different. JRE is center only, so he's not that interesting. But Reeves, Cain, Makovich rank 13, 14, 18. Alvarado is 2nd on FanDuel, and we don't know if he's playing. Yves Missi is 10th on FanDuel, 10% owned. There's a ton to like from the New Orleans Pelicans today. You really can't go wrong. Yves Missi, under 8.5 rebounds, 7% EV on ProfitX. 8 games up, 8 games down. But we've reached the part of the day where I'm going to build a lineup or two, and then we're going to get out of here. So hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Let's use our single lineup sim to build out the nuts on DraftKings. We're going to go with... oh, boy. We're going to get Jarris Walker. We'll go with Travis. Jabari Smith already doesn't start, so I'm not sure that has anything to do with Steven Adams. Let's get Antonio Reeves. And I think I'll get Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I'm going to go to Chris Paul. I'm going to go to Alvarado. I'd rather spend the salary. Actually, I'm going to go to Keontae George. Center. Probably just going to be Jokic. Actually, I'll just take Giannis. Let's see, guard. We got enough salary that I could take some big shots. I guess I could take Chris Paul there. Forward. Let's see if we could get Josh Hart and then a 7K utility. I guess Alvarado. Now that leaves me 500. I could probably upgrade somewhere. Can I upgrade JRE? Nope. Can I upgrade Jarris Walker? Yes. By quite a bit, too. Let's go Julian Champagnie. Come on, 60% ROI. Ugh. 23.4. I'm not surprised. I didn't like that. We could do better. We can do better. Let's try this again. Let's get KPJ. Let's get Jarris Walker as a placeholder. I'm going to get JRE. And I'm going to get Royce O'Neal. And then we're going to start paying up for Stephon Castle, Giannis, I'll try Keontae George again because he just projects well. And then 7,900, I guess, is Josh Hart. Not confident in this one either. $27 again. All right, well, we're going to put DraftKings to bed. We got two okay lineups. FanDuel will go much easier. FanDuel couldn't be easier to build. So let's build FanDuel. Top value options going in. Ooh, JRE, a bit of a problem. I think I'm going to take Yves Missi, Royce O'Neal, Jamal Cain, Antonio Reeves, Dyson. Nope, not Dyson Daniels just yet. Keontae George. Need a power forward. Power forward. Okongwu best value, too much ownership. Let's get Kyle Filipowski and Obi Toppin. We're going to be able to upgrade pretty easily here. Point guard, I'm going to go KPJ. Shooting guard, I'm going to go Anthony Simons. We have 12,700 left. Travis, he sucks. They didn't trade for him. It's Kevin Porter Jr. No one cares about him. He's not an asset. He's not a future play. They don't care about him in any way whatsoever. All right, where can we upgrade here in the easiest manner possible? I mean, Royce O'Neal feels like that option. 5.38 value. I'm going to take Royce O'Neal out. Upgrade that to Tumani Kamara. We are going to upgrade Keontae George. I guess I'll make that Alvarado. We could probably upgrade Yves Missi and grab one of the good centers. So I guess I'll get Jokic. That'll help spend some salary. Can I make Simons better at shooting guard? Definitely. 4.89 value. I don't want the Daniels ownership. Let's see if we can grab Halliburton. And then one final upgrade. Filipowski? Probably. Yeah, we can go up to Porzingis. That leaves me 700. Final upgrade. Can Kamara look better now? Kamara can be Beal. Nice. Let's see what we look like right here. Final lineup to run for Sunday. Travis, Elfrid Payton will be massively owned if Jose Alvarado is out. I don't hate Elfrid Payton. He's just not good at real basketball. He's exceptional in DFS. 32%. I'll take it. It's Sunday. I'm not going hard. Guys, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it all. I hope you guys enjoy your Sunday. Let's have some fun today. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow.